Well, I disagree completely that the city can't run things. I've said all along it's an insult to our governmental leaders and those who leave their private lives and private businesses behind to throw themselves into the public arena and take the slings and arrows like that. But that wasn't her question that I heard. The question I heard was, what about folks out of county who are nonetheless inside the water system? Is that correct? It is true that you do not have a vote in Fayette County. You made the choice yourself by moving to Woodford County. But the recommendations of the task force on the Water Authority is to establish an advisory board of, I think it's 21 people, with representation from all areas served, both inside and outside Fayette County. So if we had the local authority and if the task force recommendation were to be enacted as it currently sits, then everybody in the water system, whether inside or outside Fayette County, would have the ability to have their views known by the Water Authority Board. And as I said earlier, it would be a completely open meeting. It would have open records, be subject to the open meeting, open records laws of Kentucky. And that, regardless of whether people are interested in attending, that does make it available to everybody who has an interest.
Can I ask one other quick question?
Well, I'd like
let Mr. Scanlon respond
to your question. Again, let's stick to the facts that we know. Facts that we know that members of advisory boards don't vote. They're just a chance to speak, which is what any citizen has when they go to any meeting. Advisory boards are nice, they're feel-goods, but they have no authority, so don't be lulled to sleep with that answer, okay? And also, in the Water Authority document that was created and presented to council for a vote, they specifically exclude representation from people from outside the counties, okay? Oh, Mr. Pettit, I just disagree with you. You can pull that document out and we can go over it right now. There is an exclusion that says that you can't be on the board of directors simply because you're a member of the outside counties. This started out a couple of years ago with no conversations ever with the outside counties, which are some of the biggest customers like Scott County and Toyota. They have never had discussions in the beginning and just some cursory ones since then. Those folks will not be represented, and the control of that water system will be in the hands of politicians elected and re-elected in Fayette County.
Let me follow up on that though, Mr. Scanlon. The water company has been criticized for not being more open with the public, their customers, and more cooperative in an effort to build and operate a regional water treatment plant. Does that give us an example of perhaps a business that is not going to be open to the public, is going to be secretive in its dealings?
Well, if we go to those facts as I understand them, okay, I've not been in those meetings. I followed them, unfortunately, in the newspaper from time to time, and we all know how that might be going. But if I understand the facts correctly, the water company was ordered by the Public Service Commission to cooperate in a regional water authority, which they attempted to do. Over the period of the last several months or year or so, not much has been happening, and if I understand the facts right, the water company said, you know, we just want to build the water plant and get on with it, to try to get some action going. There was no action taken, and they went right back to the table trying to work with them. The Regional Water Authority is a very good idea, and I support it completely. I just wish they would take some action. I think Kentucky American is at the table saying, we will build the plant, you don't have to worry about it, we will do it if you will only let us and get out of the way. But meanwhile, what we have is a bunch of people appointed by politicians, once again, trying to solve a problem with political interests instead of business interests. And so far, nothing's happened. So to say that they've been secretive, I just don't think is the facts. I think they've been frustrated, but they are at the table working hard to try to get something done. Well, I don't think anybody will dispute that.
According to the newspaper, Kentucky American did not turn over cost comparisons and other information that the Attorney General of the state, Greg Stumble, and the Urban County government said should have been on file with the PSC.
Well, you know, just because the Urban County government, who's run by the mayor, who is desperate to take this company over, doesn't make it true, and I think just because it comes out of Attorney General Stumbo's mouth doesn't make it true. I see Mr. Rowe getting up to try to answer that.
Go ahead, Mr. Rowe, quickly, and then Mr. Ackerman would like to respond.
Yeah, that issue came up during the IPO hearing, and the report is a draft water supply report that is being finalized. It is in draft form. It will be released to the public once it is finalized. And that's the right we have under the Kentucky statute. The water supply issue is an issue that we are ordered by the Public Service Commission since 1997 to solve the water supply deficit in central Kentucky. We have been working to do that. We have worked with a regional group to try to do that. When we approached the Public Service Commission, which is our regulatory oversight, in March of this year, they made it very clear that they were very disappointed that with the customer base that we have, that more has not been done, although we've been trying to work through this regional group. In the last several months, we've offered the regional consortium an opportunity to have equity partnership, not only in the new plant that we're building, but also on the trunk line between Franklin County and Lexington. So they're mulling over those discussions now, and I see that as a very positive discussion moving forward in the future.
Your response, Foster Ackerman Jr.
First, to the composition of the Board of Directors of the Water Authority, if I recall correctly, one of those members is required to be from outside Fayette County in an area served, so there would be an absolute voice. Secondly, I believe the chair of the Advisory Council would have a vote on the Board of Directors of the Water Authority, so the wishes of the Advisory Council actually would have a vote this time, Mike. But I'm very pleased that the water supply issue has come up. And I'm very glad, Mike, that you're committed to the regional solution, because that's the best idea. It is a fact that Kentucky American is a 500-pound canary in the region. And if it cooperates in a regional solution, that will be a good solution. If it wants to go alone, that will be the way it goes, because it would be the major purchaser of the water. It is acknowledged generally that the water company's proposal would be more expensive for ratepayers than a regional solution. And nonetheless, they're going forward, because when you own the system, you get the rate of return that we've talked about several times tonight on the capital investment. If the regional consortium owned the system, it would get the rate of return. But the question that I have in the willingness to take in equity partners in the governments through whom these pipes would run, to me, and this is a lawyer, so forgive me, Mike, for wandering off into my library on this one, but the water company, as we already said, has no condemnation power unless it is derived from a local government. If the local government is in partnership with the water company, it can condemn a pipeline through these counties in central Kentucky. If the government does not partner with them, they've got to negotiate for purchase.
Let me take a phone call here. Charles, hello, thanks for waiting.
No problem, glad to.
What's your question, sir?
Can I just start right now?
Yeah, just your question, please.
Just a reminder that the most successful, and I think probably the most widely respected businessman in the Lexington area was asked whether or not we should take over the water company, and W.T. Young said it's a no-brainer. And I don't know why Mike Scanlon can't respect that man, but I want to be directed to Mr. Scanlon claiming that we're going to be losing $4 million in school taxes. I think that he needs to go back to a basic economics and accounting classes, because the lost taxes aren't really lost, okay? Because the water company is not taking that $4 million in school taxes out of some other operation overseas. They're taking that money from profits they made here in Lexington and paying their taxes with it. So if we're running the water company, we've got that same $4 million to pay for our schools, and our superintendent's not going to be short any money. If I can make one more point, that one other thing that Mr. Scanlon needs to study is what the purpose of the Public Service Commission is about. And just listen to the title of it, Public Service Commission. They're there to watch out for the public interest when you have a monopoly business like this operating in a community. They are there standing in a front place, making sure that they're not taking advantage of us. And so, if you can't trust the local government, people that we elect to watch out, be a public servant.
Right. Okay. Mr. Scanlon, would you like to respond to Charles's points?
I just don't understand Charles's math. If the water company doesn't pay the $4 million in property taxes, then the $4 million doesn't go out. And when they say the money's still available, I guess what he's saying is there's some commitment from a locally owned water company that would pay that sum of money to the school system anyhow.